Yang pertama kepada Pak Anggito terlebih dahulu. Pak Anggito, bagaimana Anda melihat dampak pemilihan umum tahun ini terhadap perekonomian kita di tahun 2024 yang dianggap penuh ketidakpastian?
Ya, terima kasih Anneke. Pertama, setiap kali election pasti diikuti dengan confidence ya, trust, kepercayaan ya, bahwa ekonomi akan berjalan dan stability akan bisa dicapai karena tadi ada kepastian. Dan 3 kandidat itu sangat qualified, jadi apapun outcome-nya saya optimis ya bahwa kondisi confidence akan tercapai dalam jangka pendek ya. Nanti setelah itu baru kita lihat bagaimana outcome-nya dan bagaimana masyarakat menerima hasil tersebut dan kemudian menyajikan program-program yang positif ya. Namun demikian memang kita masih ada series of election, apakah putaran pertama, putaran kedua, dan kemudian ada election untuk governor ya, kepala daerah itu masih akan berlangsung di September. Jadi masih wait and see-nya masih cukup panjang ya. Yang mudah-mudahan election-nya damai dan berlangsung secara baik, dan itu akan memberikan sumber dari kepercayaan perekonomian khususnya para investor.
Menjadi harapan kita bersama dan kita akan beralih ke Ms. Rao. Ms. Rao, how do you see the ongoing election will impact Indonesia's economic fundamental and financial market in the coming year?
Thanks, Wu. I think certainly very important leadership transition that is likely this year. I think what you're going to see today after the election is, first of all, clarity, whether it's going to be first round, one round, or second runoff. And I think either way, the new government is going to come in August, and thereafter the cabinet is going to be, named as well. So what you're going to see is that the entire year, the economy as well as the markets, the narrative is going to be very much dominated by what happens in the election, what happens in the political space. So while that is happening, we have done some election study. How growth does usually around elections, and what that shows us is that consumption usually private demand does better ahead of the elections. And this time around, you've got the campaign spending, you've got El Nino aid, you've also got food grain supply, and some other social security measures as well. And then, of course, you'll have Lebaran coming in as well. So consumption usually does well going into the elections. Investments kind of, stabilizes because obviously the investors would like to know who the next leader is going to be, and once you have clarity on that, they come back to invest as well. So overall, I think certainly an important event for the economy, but I think some of the fundamentals that are already in place in terms of infrastructure, in terms of investments, we expect that to continue once the elections are behind us.
Ms. Rao, considering the potential for a 2-round election, what are the potential repercussions for investor confidence and investment appetite in Indonesia's financial market? This is a 3-pronged race. There are 3 sets of candidates. Typically, we haven't seen a very clear outcome in the first round. Probably, 2009 was the last time where there was a resounding victory. So markets will look for, do the voters place their confidence with one pair very clearly? If they fall short of that 50% or 20% for provinces, obviously you're going to see a second runoff. I think that's one thing that the investors will look for. And the second thing is, what do the candidates who win stand for? When we see all the commentary in the past 6 months, we distill down to all the candidates obviously are pro-growth. They want to lower poverty rates, they want to improve employment, and they want to attract investments. I think where the difference is in how they want to achieve these goals. Some want to do higher welfare spending, some want to use a bit more fiscal room, while others prefer that state, the government doesn't spend too much, private sector spends a lot more towards infrastructure, for example. So these are some of the smaller nuances that the investors are looking for. But I don't think just the election is going to, discourage any of the investments. Certainly, I think there is a lot of underlying momentum. There have been changes on a fundamental basis in terms of how businesses are treated. Labor, the rigidity has also gone down. So those things are certainly going to benefit the investment community on a whole. So this is an event that they would watch out for. They might be on temporary hold, not keen to commit before they know who the next leader is going to be. But I don't think it's going to majorly change the direction of how the investment community looks at Indonesia. They're still very much positive.
Baik, kita akan beralih lagi ke Pak Anggito. Pak Anggito, kalau disampaikan oleh Radhika tadi, memang yang paling penting ini adalah siapa yang terpilih nanti dan bagaimana caranya untuk bisa mencapai target-target yang sudah disampaikan sebelumnya begitu. Tapi Anda sampaikan tadi kan memang ini sebenarnya masih proses yang sangat panjang karena masih ada pemilu legislatif juga nantinya. Lalu seperti apa ini akan mempengaruhi minat dari dunia usaha yang mungkin saat ini banyak yang masih wait and see?
Indonesia sudah dikenal sebagai negara yang punya perekonomian resilience, ya, punya daya tahan, punya cukup ruang untuk melihat tingkat volatilitas yang ada. Jadi menurut saya sih saya tidak melihat, ya, meskipun nanti situasi pasca pemilu ini akan sedikit bumpy karena pasti pihak yang tersingkir lah tanda petik, ya, pasti akan mengajukan banding atau mengajukan proses berikutnya, entah ke MK entah apa gitu, ya. Dan tentu kita punya daya tahan, ya, terhadap itu. Investor sudah biasa selama tidak ada situasi yang negatif, ya. Tapi saya sih tidak melihat itu. Dan mungkin seperti kata Mr. Rao tadi bahwa investor akan melihat mungkin setelah Agustus, ya. Jadi mereka punya semacam daya tahan, ya, dan mereka juga sabar menunggu sampai proses Agustus. Jadi kalau itu lebih cepat tentu lebih bagus. Tapi kalau lebih cepat satu putaran juga tentu menimbulkan pertanyaan, meskipun ekspektasi dari masyarakat ingin satu putaran supaya ada kepastian. Tapi saya tidak melihat itu. Saya sih melihat dari sisi bacaan saya maupun hasil riset saya juga mengatakan bahwa perlu 2 putaran yang untuk bisa mendapatkan, dan itu mudah-mudahan di bulan Agustus bisa akan ada kepastian. Namun demikian seperti yang saya sampaikan tadi masih ada bulan September itu untuk pemilihan kepala daerah. Nah, jadi itu juga merupakan satu round lagi di mana investor menginginkan adanya klarifikasi atau clarity, ya, dan juga setelah itu tidak ada yang yang tidak puas dengan hasil itu. Mudah-mudahan nanti di bulan September pemerintah yang definitif sudah bisa kita lihat dan mudah-mudahan itu menjadi sumber kepercayaan investor.
Baik, kita akan beralih lagi ke Radhika. Mr. Rao, Pak Anggito said about Indonesia economic resiliency, but how do you see it? Does global investor also think the same?
Yes, certainly. What you have seen is that the government has in the last, if you were to talk about the last decade, you have seen the growth average about 4 to 5%, barring the pandemic years. You've also seen that in terms of the per capita GDP has grown up by a third. Poverty as well as extreme poverty has come down. Unemployment rate continues to improve. It had spiked during the pandemic, but after that, you've actually seen it coming down. And you've seen the rating agencies have recognized and rewarded the country's creditworthiness as well. So these are very good parameters to gauge how the economy overall has done. But I'm sure, the government that comes in or the new leader who takes over, he will also have quite a few things on his agenda. To our mind, I think there are 3 things that the new government will tend to focus on. They will look to widen. So the investment cycle at this point is quite natural resource based. I think they will try to widen it beyond just the natural resources and to a larger manufacturing capacity, just like some of the other Southeast Asian countries. The other one, very important to our mind, is job creation. I think you've seen the candidates speak about it. They want to create anything between 10 to 15 million new jobs in the next 5 years. They have said that on various campaign trails as well. It becomes important because, mining doesn't employ too many people. Manufacturing will improve that absorption of labor, so job creation, and there are about 190 million working age population. So as you see every year, more and more join the workforce, they will need to be absorbed. So that will become important. And the third room, of course, which has always been discussed about, is we want to spend a lot more and we need to generate revenues as well. So we do think that this will be the big things that the government will be focused on, and what the investment community will be looking at as well. And the final one, of course, is who's going to be the next finance minister, who's going to be the investment in charge. All of those are other things that will follow down the line.
Speaking about ministers, how resilient do you believe Indonesia's financial markets will be, especially in light of recent ministerial resignations?
Yeah, there was briefly the speculation on the political front or the cabinet, front earlier this year. You did see a brief, reaction in the currency, which I think is very typical of, it's an election year, so the markets are watching the political space very closely. So I wouldn't be overtly surprised. But you saw that, within a day or two, the currency thereafter stabilized. So I think that is something that's going to happen through the year. I don't think that's an indication of the economy's resilience. It's just investors getting jittery, and then they calm down. I think what will be important for the currency will certainly be what the dollar does and what the Fed does. Our in-house view is that the rupiah is going to end the year or 2024 stronger than where it is at this point. Our own forecasts are that it's going to be closer to about 15,000, 15,100 towards the end of the year, and that's going to be a dollar-driven move, in our opinion. So markets certainly watching for what these developments are. I think for FX, what the dollar does will be important. For rates, what the US yields look like, and what the new government says about fiscal. Whether they want to widen fiscal deficit, they want to maintain consolidation, that will certainly matter to the rates world.